the most successful players in Overwatch history. It's the Seoul Dynasty.
It's gonna be fantastic to see.
우승해서 서울 다이너스티라는 이름을 널리 알리고 싶습니다. 당연히 저희 팀이 가장 잘하는 팀인 것 같습니다.
And they have added some unbelievable DPS players. Letter before is a guy to watch.
팀이 가지고 있는 목표 또한 우승이죠.
Blink and you'll miss it. Seoul will take the series.
게이머들이 최고다고 생각합니다. 성적이 보여주는 것 같아요.
This team, it has a fantastic core and base of teamwork.
개인 목표는 역시 세계 최고의 플레이어가 되는 게임 목표 역시 세계 최고의 팀원이 되는 것입니다.
So many stars on this lineup.
팀을 위해서 제 목표는 당연히 우승이죠. 우승을 위해서 모든 것을 할 거고 많은 지원을 할 겁니다.
Well, it's hard to argue, guys, that Seoul is anything but the best team in Overwatch League right now. Certainly looking like it as they are up 3-0 over Boston Uprising. A good showing for Boston, but this really did just go all Seoul's way.
Yeah, especially that last map. And we'll see if Boston can put up a fight here on Numbani, which will be our last map, if they have any more strategies available to them.
Well, no subs as we go into our final map of this 4-map series. That means Wekit is staying in for Seoul. No more swaps to Bunny or Munchkin, who is out there on the bench somewhere.
I'm just amazed when we watch Seoul and they bring in Wakid. It's been a little bit, we haven't had enough matches to really understand fully when and how they bring in their substitutes, especially when they have Bunny and Munchkin, and then Wakid's the one playing the Tracer.
On a control map.
On a control map,
yeah.
That is a bit of a surprising look for this roster, but perhaps, of course, with Wakid also playing the Junkrat, they may have just run the Tracer on that 1 point, and
I think that's probably true.
yeah, it's tough to glean too much without more data into the logic right now when it comes to their player usage, but it doesn't seem to matter, Doa, because they keep on winning.
Nope, it doesn't seem to matter. At least not quite yet. You know, Boston certainly making them work for it, but it has been fairly dominant in the end. Ooh, I want to go on a Numbani tour. That sounds fun. Let's do it.
We're getting a Numbani tour right now,
Just
Doa.
not this part of Numbani, though. This is where all the rockets and, like, bullets and crazy robots and
museum heists.
Right, museum heists. So this part of Numbani, I will pass.
Okay.
But I'm sure there's lots of other very safer, nicer parts of Numbani. This is not a good advertisement for the Board of Tourism of Numbani.
Yeah, it's not, actually.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Come to Numbani if you're good at dodging artillery. Yeah, otherwise, stay home.
Well, it is going to be the Ana, which I assume we will also see from Seoul on the defense, because you give Jaehong the opportunity to play that, and he will take it. And a pretty standard look other than that. Dreamcasper on the Soldier 76.
Yep, no surprise there, as that is a great hero pick for him. Echo on the Ana. So it's going to be Fleta on the Pharah one more time as Seoul Dynasty comes in. Wekid on the Genji. A little bit of dive, a little bit of death from above. Miro scoping out the high ground here as he comes around the corner.
Yeah, they're actually all coming in as a unit. Sometimes we see the Pharah flank around the opposite side, but they want to jump on this Ana, the Soldier, immediately.
Well, Gamsu comes back to try to defend his backline here. Seoul has managed to push Boston off of the point for the moment, but they're coming back now. Fleta over the top, gotta be careful. Ooh, getting very low in the health department before the heals come in from Toby.
Yeah, but what they've done, Seoul, already is force the supports and the Soldier onto the low ground. That was their goal. Come back for a heal and then re-engage.
A good kill on the Gamsu there. The zoning has been effective from Seoul, that's for sure. Kalios comes in just to try to buy some time, create some room for maybe the res to come through on Gamsu, which it does, and now Boston may be able to turn this one around. It looks like they will. Nearly 2 ticks taken by Seoul, but that may be all they get unless Wekid has a great Dragon Blade here. I think that was a bold move to pull that out right now, and most of his team was dead.
It was a ultra bold move. He had no tanks. It was him and 2 supports.
I think
left on the point when the Dragon Blade was unleashed.
It's a fine line between bold and bad, and I think that may have crossed the threshold there.
And we combine them, it's bald.
That's a bald. That was a bald Dragon Blade. You think Genji's bald underneath that mask?
I have no idea, Doa.
I think he probably is.
What, did he lose all of his hair in the...
Yeah.
catastrophe which occurred.
Maybe there's some cool like pipes and like wires and stuff going in there too. I don't know, who knows. Weki going down, gets brought back up again, of course. We need another cinematic to tell us this. Seoul on the attack one more time. Boston a little bit harder to push off the high ground this time around. And here comes Attack Visor. Dreamcasper gets Fleta before the Transcendence comes in. Let's see what the self-destruct does. Not much besides pushing Boston back a bit. Can Seoul capitalize on the positioning though?
Yeah, they've got Miro and Zunba in the backline right now, trying to harass these supports and push them off. It's a 4 versus 2 on the point itself right now. That means Kelix and Gamsu are going to be having a hard time.
Fleta dies again. They've had his number the entire time, but Seoul Dynasty making up for it by winning this fight for the moment. Another good delay from Kaleo. Self-destruct comes in, no kills, and Jaehong taking matters into his own robotic hands to get a couple more kills as they're going to finish off point A.
That was just some excellent zoning by Seoul. You
Yeah.
can see how meticulous they are. They push people off the high ground back onto that street, redouble back onto the point, and when Boston tries to re-engage, they send both tanks right back in to zone off the healing from the enemy team, and they just have, of course, commit that nano boost right there. Oh, beautiful by Jaehong.
Not bad at all.
Commit the nano boost and the self-destruct, but can't actually finish off those kills, and that's what's been great about Seoul is the divide and conquer tactics that we've seen so far on Numbani.
Yeah, well, Neko finds that kill into Weki. Gotta feel good. After losing point A, Weki brought back up again, of course, by the Mercy Res. But Boston trying to keep that payload from moving forward, but they are getting slowly shoved back here.
And Toby gonna use that Valkyrie also. Kelix is not available yet, just has it right now.
Yep.
They're still getting chased around.
Oh, Kelix kind of finds himself a little bit on his own here. They're gonna send the self-destruct in. Don't know if they're gonna catch him with it, but it does create a lot of space. Yeah, why not, man? That's what Valkyrie's for.
Toby chased down Kelix during his own Valkyrie and picked up that kill. That was Kelix attempting to get back to his teammates. That was a bit of a panic Valk right there, as you saw him isolated on the side, was going to die, and that means there's going to be one fewer crucial ultimate to use to defend on point C.
Kelix has had some really good Mercy ults today, but that one did seem a little bit out of sorts.
They're not showing the same level of ultimate discipline that we saw on some of the other maps.
Yep. Seoul still rolls forward here. Gamsu coming in again. Shield broken quickly by Fleta. Here comes Attack Visor now from Dreamcasper. Not finding any kills with that though. Transcendence is going to prevent any more damage from coming in, and now Seoul pushes forward off of that Zenyatta ultimate. See if they can get a bit more. Flashbang doesn't connect, but a couple bullets do. Gonna need to be careful coming around this corner though. Oh, Weki says, nope, I'm just gonna pull out the blade, man. Couple supports, easy peasy, man. Weki finally goes down, but he certainly made his presence felt.
That self-destruct simply going to be blocked by the Winston bubble. Wakid will be brought back up by Toby in the Valkyrie. Valkyrie's going to come through for Kelix as well, but they're down so many people. It's going to be hard to try and get a lot of value out of this ability.
Oh, that's a lot of damage from Jaehong. Look at that! Pinking Kelix out of the air in the Valkyrie. We've seen it before, and there's another clip for Reddit.
I mean, Kelix really didn't have a choice right there. He had to take a risk to resurrect people just to hold on to the payload.
It's not easy to pick people out of the air like that, though. That is impressive stuff from Jaehong. Transcendence gonna pave the way for this payload to get the rest of the way. Here in point C, one by one coming on to the point to try to stop it, but it's not enough. And Seoul will complete their attack run here on Numbani.
Yeah, impressive stuff. Boston tried to counteract their dive in their first attack, or their first defense, and succeeded, made them reset. But from there, it was a pretty clean push through the streets and museum phases of Numbani.
Yeah. That attack from Seoul at point A was really just fun to watch. I mean, just a great use of positioning and zoning and all that. And it was so methodical, too. We see so many teams in Overwatch just kind of go in and try to hit that back line hard and try to just get those picks. But Seoul was very much like, this is our space now. You can't come here. Now we're going to move you here. so on and so on until point A was gone.
Yeah, and you're simply not going to be able to heal if you're falling back to the streets.
Yeah, or res people that die in the front.
With your supports, because you can't get close enough, and there's a Winston putting it down a bubble in front of you, which is cutting off the line of sight for the Ana, so you can't heal people through it.
Yep.
And it just becomes a massive issue. But if you play it deliberately and you can control the positioning of the enemy supports on attack, then they basically just have to sprint at the point, or you have a numerical advantage in terms of players on the point itself, and it's just getting one kill at a time, picking them off, and just forcing them to come back in. So
yeah,
nicely done. We are going to see Wakid back on the Junkrat and Fleta on the Widowmaker. So this is actually quite a different style of defense than we might have assumed.
interesting.
Wakid will be on the far side trying to control the choke points if they choose to go to that high ground, and Fleta, as a result, should get a lot of opportunities for some long-range snipes.
Toby jumped into second place for most Mercy final blows. Good luck, buddy. Godspeed, Toby. You can get that stat. Oh, yeah. Here comes Boston going for the dive again. This time Neko on the Lucio, though. Trying to move to that point a little bit quicker.
So they look like they really want to just speed boost their way into this point.
Yeah.
Fleta's playing very far back. He's all the way back behind the streets right now, covering the point itself and the entry as they come in here from the streets. They're going to jump onto the high ground and they'll find Wakid immediately.
Yeah, great dive to begin things. Weki did not last very long. Neko does get picked off by Fleta on that Widowmaker, and Kalios nearly demeched. He is demeched now.
Oh, he's just going to kill Dream Casper too, so nobody
I guess
actually is on the point. Scott is trying to chase him around right now.
Wow, I can't believe Toby lived through that. He must have had like 1 health left. That's crazy.
Nick of time.
Didn't live through
this
that one,
game,
no.
and he's not going to live through that one, but both of the Mercies will go down alongside Neko again.
Yeah.
So Seoul, in spite of a bad dive, pulls it off, but Fleta had all the room in the world to work right there, and as soon as they went onto the point itself, Fleta hits a couple of headshots, and that's going to stop Boston's advance.
Well, you're really just not expecting the Widowmaker if you're Boston, too. I mean, you do a pretty normal, well-executed dive. You kill Junkrat, but you're just not counting on those shots coming from way over where Fleta is. Now they know. So now we're going back to that theme we talked about earlier. How are they going to adapt?
Yeah, how are they going to adapt? They're going to head, at least looks like the same way, but they're going to try to dive onto the high ground again. They are out of sight of the Widowmaker. That means Fleta has to reposition.
Yeah, but they're out of sight of the point, too. Losing a few more people here. That's another push. Unsuccessful for Boston. A little bit of resetting going on just to get everybody back to spawn quicker.
Fleta actually trying to peek on them right now because they're standing over by the bus right around the corner from the main entrance.
I mean, you notice Fleta getting more bold here, and maybe that's something Boston can capitalize on.
Well, he needs to keep moving his position up, so they're not going to know necessarily where he's coming from. Falls back off the high ground. He goes actually right back to where he was. So until somebody pressures this Widow, they're going to try now. They're going to put down the bubble.
Yep. Doing what they can, trying to cut off that line of sight for the shots. Jaehong way in the back here. Doing the damage he can. Primal Rage. Fuse gets batted around, gets taken down. That's a kill in Boston's favor, but already Seoul pulling ahead in this fight a little bit. Kelix in a little bit of trouble. Using that Valkyrie, staying alive for the moment. Toby going after him. Neko taken out by that Riptire, and that may be about it, unless this turnaround, Dream Casper, have he and Striker gotten enough picks to pave the way for Boston to take this one.
And they're trying to re-engage right now. Fleta is down. He was killed by Dream Casper and Gamsu. But the support's still vulnerable from the Uprising.
Well, that was the best shot that Boston had yet, but as they head back towards their spawn, you see Seoul just so poised.
Well,
so unflustered from any of this.
Yeah, and the communication is there. The Dynasty knew they should not save Fleta in that situation. We're going to take a look at this.
Welcome back, Junkrat.
Yeah, welcome back. And there's just a bomb into the clustered members and a second one dropping the mines into the Uprising. And they knew they shouldn't have saved Fleta in that last fight because he had already successfully distracted both the Genji and the Winston from the opposing team. So the investment not worth it.
Not so much. Oh, that helps. Jaehong. Hey, guess who's back on the Ana? You felt it. It's Jaehong. Keeping everybody healed. And now just 20 seconds remain for Boston. A lot of ults to use, but they really, really need to get something big going here. Oh, and Neko in a little bit of trouble. Pops the Transcendence. He's been so separated from the rest of his team.
That was really odd that he tried that flank.
Odd and disastrous for Boston, as they are going to be without that support ultimate. Fleta still looking for shots. He's going to get dove. We're into overtime now. Jaehoong was hiding, waiting for the pressure to come off. Oh, nice shot with that biotic grenade. Helps Wicked get the kill onto Kellex, trying to keep Fleta alive. Manages to do just that. And the members of Boston falling once again. OT will only last about as long as these tanks do, I think. Kalios does get two with the self-destruct.
This might be it.
They got it. I think they got the point, man. They got the point.
Forced him off for long enough.
That's crazy.
It was only Miro who was on the point, while the rest of the members of Boston were trying to dive that back line. And so a couple members in reserve forcing Miro out early. They were slowly moving up that control percent.
Well, you talk about positioning, and that's something that Seoul may have kind of forgotten here at the end, is they were still very close to taking it when they came in with this push based on some of the previous ones. And yeah, check that out. So the payload's moving. We're not done quite yet.
As you can see at the start of that replay, they had already gotten those 2 ticks from just having Miro engage earlier. Everybody else was falling backwards, trying to deal with the aggression of the Boston front line.
And speaking of aggression here, Striker throwing that pulse bomb in, getting Jaehoong right after Dreamcasper gets a kill of his own. Boston certainly not going down without a fight here.
I don't know if Jaehoong's going to be sticking with this Ana anymore.
Yeah, I think it's time to swap, and he already has. He's on the Zenyatta now, but that's going to be point B for Boston. I doubt Seoul can get there in time to stop them. They're not even going to try. So just like that, 2:43 on the clock in Boston with a bit of time to actually tie things up.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fleta, of course, moving over to the McCree as well. Boston back and looking comfortable on this dive. This is where they've been the most successful in the early parts of this Overwatch League season, and just coming back to it right now. Dreamcasper looking for that window to use his ultimate.
Yeah. Here's where it gets really tricky. Nice reflect into Fleta. Striker capitalize on it. Dreamcasper getting the back lines. There's a kill onto Jaehoong. Still hasn't even needed to pull the Dragon Blade yet. Gets both supports. Boston putting together a miracle push here at the end of their attack run.
Yeah, but they didn't get much movement on the card because Miro was there stopping it from pushing forward towards the point. So the result of that fight is a win. Wicked is still behind the members of Boston, by the way. He's going to use that Riptire. He's up on the high ground. You can see it coming through.
A big Riptire would be really nice for Seoul right now, as that payload is basically there. They get Neko, and that's going to be the ticket for Seoul to push ahead. Boston, even if they are taken down here, which it looks like they will be pushed back a little bit at least. Well, Kellex popped the Valkyrie. They're going to commit to this. Oh,
okay.
Enough of that, says Zunba, man. That is a 3K with the self-destruct, and Boston needs to reset. They've still got a little over a minute left, though.
Yeah, that was actually around the corner, away from the payload.
Tricky,
and
very tricky.
That Diva mech slipped around the corner, as you're going to see. So they're all afraid of Miro right now in the front line. Going to try and push it back, and then watch this.
Oh, yeah.
Just catching him right as Kellex comes around. So
man.
close.
Lined it up so it just went right into the door, too.
A bit of luck there, and Kellex almost escaped.
Yep. Boston not out of it quite yet. Transcendence coming in. Gamsu does fall. Seoul with the early tank kill to stabilize here on the payload. They're going to get Striker too, so now Dreamcasper running back. He's still got that Dragon Blade. They've still got at least one more attack here.
But this is smart. Fall back if you're Boston right now.
Oh, yeah.
You have time for another attack. You just saw the Transcendence come out. You just saw the Valkyrie come out. So if you can get the big Dragon Blade, might be able to push this to the end.
Yeah, that's right. Here we go. Final attack coming in for Boston. They need to make it work. They do get Fleta early, but remember, the respawns are so close. Uh-oh, Toby in a little bit of trouble. Here comes a Dragon Blade. Supports in danger. Dreamcasper, he can't find them, though. He doesn't know. Now he finally finds Toby. Can he get the kill? Puts the blade back. The healing comes in. Neko falls on the other side. And Dreamcasper, they needed him to have a big blade, and it did not work out. Now he's low health, facing down the Junkrat, but the kills coming through for Boston. We're into overtime. Can Seoul barely hold here? Zumba falls.
Yeah, Toby with the Valkyrie up, so Fleta Comes back and picks off 2, and it looks like
Oh boy.
that is going to be it for Boston as the members start to fall one by one.
Yeah, it seems that way, man. What a push for these guys. But in the end, just like it's been all series, Seoul a bit too strong, and they will take the 4-0.
Another impressive showing from Seoul Dynasty.
And if you look at the Boston Uprising, too, I mean, you can't really say a lot of things they did wrong in that series. It's just, when it comes down to it, Seoul is just better. But good showing by Boston.
Yeah, I really like what we're seeing on some of, at least with their internal team communication when it comes to using those ultimates.
Yeah.
When they've been running the dive, they've been at their strongest. So from here on out, it's just about getting some more team compositions under their belts and fixing some small errors on that dive. But they're going in the right direction.
Seoul's still the king. What can you say, guys? We'll be back in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel and Omen by HP.
Hey everyone, we're back once again. My name is Zoe and I'm now joined by no other than the man himself, Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. Please give it up. Fleta, first of all, of course, congratulations to you and your team for yet another victory. You in the past have been a part of teams which unfortunately didn't see that much success. Now you're joining the Seoul Dynasty. What is it like to play alongside such talented players and a team which has so much potential to actually win the whole league?
먼저 플레타 선수의 성공과 윈과 그리고 저희 서울팀의 승리에 대해서 축하드리고요. 지금 플레타 선수가 최고의 선수들과 함께 좋은 팀에서 경기를 하고 계신데 전에는 플레타 선수 잘 하셨지만 이렇게 좋은 경기력을 가진 선수들이 아닌 팀들과 경기를 하셨었잖아요. 지금 이렇게 잘하는 선수들과 하시는 기분이 어떠신가요?
일단은 세계 최고의 선수들과 함께해서 항상 즐겁고 또 영광이라고 생각합니다.
It's an honor to play with the world best players, and I'm always happy with that.
Well, we're always happy to see you on that stage as you go off on literally every hero you can play, and you can play a lot of them, really. Now, so far your team is undefeated, but next week you're going to go up against NYXL, and this is the first time we're actually going to see two Korean teams facing off against each other. How do you think you guys going to do against them?
지금까지는 저희 서울팀이 무패 기록을 하고 있는데 다음 주에 처음으로 한국인들로 이루어진 팀인 뉴욕팀과 경기를 하게 됩니다. 경기 결과에 대해서 어떻게 될 것이라고 예상하시나요?
일단 뉴욕 팀과의 경기는 힘들 것으로 예상되지만 저희가 일단 준비하고 있는 게 많기 때문에 이길 수 있을 거라 보고 또 파인 선수와의 대결이 좀 기대됩니다.
It can be tough with New York, but we're preparing a lot, so definitely we will win. And also, I'm really excited to play with Pine.
All right, I love the confidence. Fleta, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. We can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us when you're facing off against the NYXL. But for now, let's head over to the desk to break down the game we just saw on that stage.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Great stuff there from Fleta. He is always on point, and already he's walked away with several players of the match honors. Now to break down the action, I brought back in Reinforce as well as Sideshow, and we're going to start here with Oasis. It was a 2-0 lead at the half, and it quickly became a 3-0 lead. Just two stages here as we take a look at some of the general highlights. What did we see from the opening from both squads?
Well, they were both playing Farah Mercy, as is often the way on these stages of Oasis. But then when it came to University, we saw a different look coming out from Boston Uprising. Gamsu over on the Reinhardt. They had this triple tank strategy going forwards, and Seoul put on a masterclass, really, of how to deal with that with their dive. It was phenomenal to see. But what's great from the Boston Uprising's point of view is that they seem to be starting to diversify the strategies that they can bring into different stages, and they do look decent. It's just that at the moment, Seoul is better.
Yeah, but even then, last week they played the same composition versus the Florida Mayhem, and so Seoul, they look really prepared on Oasis, despite Boston trying to adapt.
So Seoul was able to do some homework, and they were able to get their studies done. We have a telestration here from Reinforce, and as you saw Boston, they were able to switch it up midway through the game. They brought out triple tank, and Seoul, we talked about their adaptations. We're about to see another one, Reinforce.
I mean, this positioning from Seoul Dynasty is just insane. So Boston Uprising is playing this tank, Death Ball, and they're going to collapse on someone. But I want to point out Seoul Dynasty's rotations here. This is a retake from Seoul, and we're going to see in the upper hand of the screen, Sunba and Miro rotating on the upper, and we're going to see Wicked rotating down here, and just Seoul spreading out so much. So as we play this clip out, we're going to see that Boston is trying to capitalize and collapse on someone with the Lucio speed boost. In this case, it's going to be Fleta coming out of the spawn. But before we even get there, I want to just pause here for a second. I mean, just look how Seoul Dynasty is spread out on this clip. We have Miro on the upper center of the screen. We have Sunba up here as well. Wicked down here with a Rip Tire. Rija Hong on the bottom. Fleta on the left side of the screen with Toby. So, I mean, with this kind of spread coming out of Seoul Dynasty, Boston Uprising, they really can't capitalize on pushing all of these guys at the same time. So they get Fleta here, and then they have to rotate back to the point. But because Seoul Dynasty is so split up, they really can't continue this death ball. Wicked's Junkrat is going to just cause a mess here. Toby's going to resurrect Fleta. And because of these rotations, I mean, it's so impressive how they just dismantle this tank composition from Boston.
And this is one of the reasons as well that we've seen Reinhardt kind of take a dip out of the meta, because when you have such mobile heroes and you can spread out and you have the coordination, the Reinhardt-centric compositions that all have to stay together and move around the map, they can't find anybody to pin down. I mean, they essentially just went 6v1 onto Fleta there and then got collapsed by the other 5 members of Seoul Dynasty. So it's very difficult to get value out of these Reinhardt compositions unless your opponent is running something that's similarly static.
Let's keep it moving now as we get into our Game 4 discussion. Game 4, it was Numbani, and coming in, Seoul Dynasty, pretty decent attack. In fact, on their defensive end, it looked like they were going to go for a full hold, but Boston extends the game. Let's go through some of these general highlights here and talk about the opening that we saw out of Seoul. Dreamcasper on defense was forced over to the 76, and it seemed to be paying dividends.
Yes, we actually saw the Soldier coming out of Dreamcasper. We have seen a lot of teams favor the Soldier, especially on Numbani, trying to shut down the Pharah of Fleta initially, but it didn't really work out, especially when you have Toby just flying around and getting mercy kills. Rejong comes in as well, gets fixed, and Kalex overall through this series got picked off quite a lot compared to the counterparts on Seoul Dynasty, so maybe calm down his aggressiveness a bit on the Mercy.
And I think for Kalex as well, something you see with Toby and Seoul Dynasty is that when Toby goes for these aggressive resurrects or aggressive positionings, that a lot of the time somebody else on his team will be doing something that draws all of the attention of their opponents. On Horizon, we saw him going in for 2 really clutch resurrects, but nobody could attack him because there was a Dragon Blade on the other side of the map. So it's very difficult to try and pin down Toby in these circumstances, whereas Kalex is really the only guy going for a play at that point. So he needs a bit of distraction from the rest of his team, I think.
Johnny, I want to wrap this up with a question about Boston. They are now sitting at 1-2, but their 2 losses come to the full Korean lineups that are undefeated, the New York XL and the Seoul Dynasty. How good is this team right now, and where do you expect to see them at the end of these 10 games that they're playing through stage 1?
Well, they have been pretty impressive when they're playing their dive compositions, and we see a lot of the Western teams, Philadelphia, Gladiators, all of them are opting for these dive compositions. And so Boston has been performing really well, very disciplined dives as such. Yeah. But when it comes to these Korean teams, I mean, the Koreans just read them and just counterplay so much. So they don't really rely so much on individual skill going up against Korean teams, and they struggle so much harder.
For me, every week it looks like Boston's getting a little bit better, but they still have a bit of a ways to go. One man that doesn't need any help, his current play is pretty solid enough to get our player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. It's Miro, and the man was going off since the very beginning on Junkertown.
Yes, and I mean, he hasn't had that much playtime throughout Overwatch League thus far, but finally they found a use for his aggressiveness, and they just punished Boston Uprising throughout this series.
Yeah, he is so aggressive, and he very rarely gets punished for his aggressive positioning, mostly because he's either got the Primal Rage or Toby's in a position to resurrect him. So he's able to make so much space for his team, whilst playing so aggressively, able to get right up in their faces, do a huge amount of damage, disruption, space creation. His statistics are also kind of crazy, Johnny.
Yes, they are. I mean, you look at the deaths here. I mean, 4.61, which isn't considerably that high compared to other Winstons, but he is still so aggressive. So this guy really knows his limits, and especially the Primal Rage usage is just flawless coming out of Miro.
Great games out of Miro. Go ahead,
yeah,
Satcho.
Something that really, when you look at that players knockback, 272 players knockback, that's the impact and the impact on the leap. He had 70 more than Gamsu. He's been able to either get into the choke points or counter dive onto people and get huge value out of that.
They played around the aggressive Winston, and Seoul Dynasty gets the win. It's now another 4-0 that they add to their overall record. 4-0 overall match count for Seoul Dynasty, our first team to do so. Coming up next, though, we got a battle between 2 0-3 teams. It's going to be the Shanghai Dragons taking on the Florida Mayhem. We'll find out which of these squads is walking away with their first big win of the regular season.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Heroes never die.